وَكُلًّا نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الرُّسُلِ مَا نُثَبِّتُ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ وَجَاءَكَ فِي هَذِهِ الْحَقُّ وَمَوْعِظَةٌ وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week we came to the point of Iblis getting his time from Allah Azza wa Jalla until the day of judgment, and then he gave all of he just poured all of his venom in saying what he's going to do to us, the children of Adam alayhi salam. Now there's nothing to fear of Iblis. I think there's people who get really worked up and feared about Iblis and what he might do and how many shayateen there are. But there's nothing to be worried about, because Allah Azza wa Jalla has said in that verse, إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. So the servants of Allah Azza wa Jalla who are sincere, they are the ones whom Allah Azza wa Jalla will save from shaitan. And so sincerity is one element, a big element of saving ourselves from shaitan and from his waswasa. What does that mean? That means that we have to have a niyyah. See, the first hadith in Imam Bukhari's collection, the first hadith in many different collections of the hadith is إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. That most of that the actions that you do, they will be determined by the intentions that we make. So having heard this, what we should know is that Allah Azza wa Jal will shape our actions according to the intentions we make. How sincere we are for Allah, that's how good our actions will turn out to be. So the ulama say to make in any action we do, whether it's ibadat, worship of God, whether it's muamalat and our transactions, or Islamic sort of learning, book reading, whatever it is, you should make your intention in the beginning that you're doing it sincerely for Allah's sake. And then you should check it somewhere in the middle that it is still for Allah's sake. And finally at the end, when you finish that action, you should then turn back to Allah and to think that yes, this offering was for yourself. So as long as you got these three parts to your action, that's the sincerity of the action. So for example, I am going to give some da'wah, I'm going to invite someone to Allah. So I should first make the niyyah that it's only for Allah, so I'm not calling to like myself or for them to see me in a good light or anything like that. So I make that niyyah, then I go give my da'wah. While I'm giving my da'wah, obviously I'm going to pause at some time. So while I'm pausing, I should still make sure that I'm still doing it for Allah's sake. And then at the end, when I finish, it's good to sort of turn to Allah again, whether it's through a dua, whether it's just through the heart, just to turn towards Allah, just to think that yes, it was for Allah's sake. If at any moment a person realizes that their sincerity has been affected, then to correct it straight away. Because what we are judged by is the last of our actions rather than what is there in the beginning or the middle of actions. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innamal a'malu bil khawatim." In another hadith of Muslim, he said that the actions are going to be determined by the last of the actions. Now there's various interpretations of that, but one of the things is that finally if you started to do it for Allah's sake, or you did it for Allah's sake and you were sincere, then they say that is a good sign, and hopefully Allah Azza wa Jalla will accept it. The ulama also say that most of the actions, awwaluhu riya wa akhiruhu ikhlas. They say about themselves. Right? These are some ulama who've written this, and they say about themselves that many actions that we start doing, it has riya in it, it has ostentation or showing off others in it, but later on, eventually it starts to turn towards ikhlas and towards the sincerity for Allah's sake. And in saying that, what I want you to do is look at, for example, a child. When a child starts to read his salah with his papa or mama or daddy or mummy, what you'll see is that they purely are doing it for their parents. 100% almost, they're doing it for their parents. So it's like, they see the dad doing sujood, so they want to do the sujood, and they see the dad wearing the topi, so he wants to put a topi on his head as well. And even my kids, they do this with me, and after you finish your salah, they come first things like, look, I prayed. I prayed. So you're supposed to they want that attention from you, and give it to them. Don't start preaching to them, did you do for Allah's sake? Was it for sincerity? Was it for me? I mean, they're not going to understand that at all. They're just purely doing it because they're doing taqleed. It's in their fitrah, so just follow and just copy. So they're doing it for that sake. So praise them for it's fine. Now, as the child grows up, you will find that when he gets to 7, 8, 9, 10, he will start to change a little. So he will have some thoughts of, okay, it's for Allah, we do for Allah, but then at the same time, he's still gaining the parents, brownie points. And then after, when he gets to 12 to 14 or something, then you will see that yes, now he understands clearly that he's supposed to do for Allah's sake. But still, there will be some kind of riyah where he might do it for friends, or he might do because the authority is there. He might do because he might be disciplined if he doesn't do it, and so on. But when he gets to his 20s, it will change. The frame mind work will change, and the frame of mind will change again in the 30s. As the more the person progresses in life, the more a person starts to ask, to himself that, if I'm doing it for Allah's sake, then I should do it purely whether people are seeing it or people are not seeing it. And then you start seeing the person, getting into the long sujoods and for Allah's sake, and when others are not even around, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's why the ulama said many of our actions, they might start with riyah, somewhere they might have some kind of ostentation, but akhiruhu ikhlas. Eventually we get to ikhlas. So don't be worried about not having pure ikhlas at this moment. If you listen to this, start working towards it. The more you start to get your mind in that, the more inshallah bi'idhnillah it will work towards ikhlas. There's another thing to mention here is that when last week we covered that ayah in Surah Isra verse 61 to 65, right at the end Allah added on, Allah said, Inna ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan. My servants, you've got no power over them. And he said, no power over them. And he said, وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ وَكِيلًا. Allah then added, he said, your Lord is enough to depend upon. What that means is, we have to put our trust in Allah with regards to the shaitan. Don't ever feel that the shaitan can overpower you, but just put your trust. You do your bit and put your trust. Allah has asked us to do 2 or 3 simple things. And one of the major things He has said, okay, after doing it for the pure sake of Allah, is that you put your pure trust in Allah as well. That He's going to make you work out. Now, I've seen a lot of people who break this simple rule. I know you can hesitate. You can hesitate and think, oh my God, how's it going to work out? How's it going to work out? That hesitation and that sort of doubt inside your heart, it's a breach of trust. Wakila means you are making Allah your trust. Allah has told us in the ayah in Surah Isra, when He mentioned all this about shaitan, when He mentioned the shaitan told him that I'm going to take them astray, Allah then added these words for a reason. And the reason why He's added this is, it's a breach of trust of a human being to think that Allah will not help him when the right time comes. It's a breach of trust. So what we're supposed to do is, and it's a simple thing to do, is that just trust Him. Just trust Him. It's going to work out. Khalas. You're going on a journey. You don't know how this journey is going to work out. You're going for an interview. You're going for a job. The other day, somebody in this masjid came to me and said, Imam, make dua that I get this job. I'm going for my interview. I said, don't make that. I'm not going to make the dua for you that you get that job. He's like, I said, look, just make dua to Allah, and I'll make the dua to Allah. If the job is good for you, then may Allah give it to you. But if there's a better job out there, may Allah give you that one. Isn't that better dua to make? And I said, the istikhara dua that says, oh Allah, if it is good for me in terms of my worldly affairs, my affairs of the akhirah, my final outcome, akhirati wa aqibati amri, if it's good in all these regards, then write it down for me, put it in my fate, make a good outcome for me, make it easy for me to attain it. But if in terms of my worldly affairs, my livelihood, my akhirah, my next life, my final outcome, if it's not good, then I want you to replace it with something else and move me away from me, move that away from me, and put barakah in whatever you put my fate into. I said, look, this is the best dua that you say when you want to go for something. But once you've done that, the thing is, just go brave as a lion in whatever you think is the best thing you've done, and alhamdulillah. If it works out, alhamdulillah. If it didn't, you know what? You know what I do a lot of times in life is that when something doesn't work out, I kind of have a it's such a long checklist in my head that I've lost count. But there are certain things in my head that haven't worked out in my life, and I just smile. I know there's a good reason why it never worked out. But I smile. And the reason why I smile is, on the day of judgment, I'm going to ask Allah, oh Allah, why didn't that thing work out for me? What was your hikmah? What was your wisdom of which I wouldn't have any ability of knowing? Please reveal that to me today. So my checklist of how many wisdoms of God He is going to reveal to me on the day of judgment is going to be. And sometimes I think, you know what? I might be really silly saying this right now, because on the day of judgment I'll probably say, I don't even care. Just give me the Jannah. That's going to be the best thing I just want to see right now. So, but sometimes, like in life, He lets you carry on. You think it didn't work out. Alhamdulillah. My Lord's doing the best thing for me. That's what we're supposed to do. My Lord is doing the best thing for me. And whatever khair, whatever goodness in there is, and it'll come out. And a lot of the times what I see is that after 2, 3 years, 5 years later, when you move on in life, you look back and you understand, now I can see why. You got together with this person, it's supposed to be a really good project and everything was going really well, and suddenly something came up and it went all pear-shaped and you fell out and you had such a big, clash, and things were politically like a storm was brewing up, and it started, political rain came down, and it was so bad between you and him. And then you think 5 years later or 3 years later, you look back when everything settled down, you think, you know what? It's good that happened, because it happened in the first few stages of our contract. If it happened deep 5 years, 10 years down the contract, the political storm would have been a tornado. It wouldn't have been a little storm, it would have been a massive tornado that would have ripped my life and ripped his life as well. So it's better that Allah made it happen in the early stage than for it to happen in the later stage. And I sometimes look back at this and I think, subhanAllah, that happened for a reason. So in terms of the shaitan and whatever he can do, first thing is that he's got no power. Second thing is, I'm going to put my trust. So in putting my trust, you read Ayatul Kursi after the salah, after every salah. If you kind of mentioned this sort of last week, and there's many other du'as that with your eating and other stuff, going to the toilet and other things that you read. You will have a portion of Quran reading every day and other things which I've mentioned before as well. And then you just simply put your trust in Allah that He's not going to be able to have any power. However, you still need to check. Sometimes it's really good to know that there is a power of evil awaiting you to take you astray. Sometimes it's really good to think of that. If you think how Allah's created us. One of my learned friends mentioned this once, and I think it's a deep thing that he said. He said that the human being has been created so that you actually have to have a thing to hate. You've been made like that. You have to have things to love, and you've got this mechanism inside you that you must hate certain things. Every human being, there's certain things they hate. Certain people they hate. Certain ideologies they hate. You will not find from me anyone who will be able to like and love everything. Otherwise, he's insane. He's mad. How are you going to love right wing in politics, left wing in politics, and everyone in between? You must be crazy. If you love the neocons in politics and you love the liberals in politics, you must be mad, because both of them are at each other. You can't do that. So the same thing is in every aspect of life. Every aspect of life. You cannot love everything. You're either on the Sufi side or the Salafi side, or you're somewhere in between, but you can't sort of mix everything of everything and every side. There's going to be some parts that you can't get on with. So the point here is that the hatred of ours is supposed to be turned attention to shaitan. The attention of that has to be towards the shaitan. And that's why Allah mentioned, every time He mentions shaitan, He says, Aduwwum mubin. Now the other thing that Allah mentioned that's really important to understand this is that Allah's called him a clear, open enemy. He's an open enemy. Now an open enemy is better than a secret enemy. Now there's many different interpretations of open enemy. One thing about open enemy is that he is clearly your enemy. There's no doubt about him not being your enemy, and that's the most most common tafsir that you will get of that ayah. That he's your clear and number one enemy. There's no doubt, shadow of a doubt, that he's your enemy. You better not have any doubt ever that he's your devil. The devil is your enemy. That's fine. But there's another part to this. An open enemy and a secret enemy one that is closed or someone that you don't know of is very difficult to deal with, right? So for example, if I was here and I knew that a musalli kind of doesn't like me, and every time he does salam to me, it's like, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, all right. I think, whoa, he's my, he does, what's up? Maybe it's that time when this happened to and every time that, he's like, he doesn't want to have eye contact with you, he wants to stay away from you, this and that. Now that's one type of enemy. The other one, which is worse than this one, is the one that is a closed enemy. So what happens? He comes, Assalamu alaikum, how are you, brother? You okay? MashaAllah. Right? And you don't know, he hates your guts. He wants to pull your intestines out. So he's mashallah and he's sitting with you and he's, giving you all the smiles and all the, good words he can, but he's working against you. He's going to backstab you. He's waiting for you to get close to him, and he's going to he's telling other people in the community how bad you are, and he's backstabbing you without you even realizing. That's a worse enemy, right? So why Allah called the shaitan an open enemy is because his tricks are all in the Quran. All shaitan's tricks are numbered in the Quran. There is not a trick that you can find of shaitan that is not in the Quran. There are certain subtle tricks he can use. And inshallah one day, if you get the chance, there's a wonderful book by Ata'ullah al-Iskandari. It's called Al-Hikam al-Ata'iyya. It's a wonderful book. And I think it's just in Arabic, but I would love to do that book one day, because it's got all the subtle things that the shaitan does. I mean, they're under the Quran, they all come up from the Quran, but it's very subtle moves that he makes with you. But nevertheless, we don't need to be concerned about that. Allah Azza wa Jalla has listed all his. So what's he going to do? He's either going to make you believe something that isn't there, right? Or he's going to make you doubt something. Right? Something that is certain, he's going to make you doubt it. Or like last week what I said is that something is serious and he's going to make you feel that it's not serious. Or what he's going to do is that he's going to procrastinate. So he's going to say, don't worry about it, just carry on. Don't worry. It'll be all right. Just a bit more, like for example, when we're sleeping in the morning, says, oh, you got a long night. Just go back to sleep. Long night. Procrastination. Don't do it today. Just do it tomorrow. And he did that to one of the Sahabi at the time of Tabuk, the Battle of Tabuk. He told him to go out tomorrow, and then go out tomorrow, and then finally he couldn't reach the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So procrastination is a massive one that he does. Another one is that he gives you promises that are not true, and one of them we're going to come to inshallah when he promises Adam alayhi salam about the tree. And another one is that when shaitan, what Allah has mentioned is that he's going to start to whisper and make you feel that you're talking to yourself and it's you, but it's really not you. Now that is slightly subtle, but you can catch it out. If you sort of think that I'm being, Allah said clearly, فَإِنَّهُ يَأْمُرُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. All the waswasa inside, all the secret whispering inside will come to two things. Either it's going to come to something obscene, or it's going to come to something which most good people will dislike and reject as being good. Right? So two things. So number one is fahsha, and this has been mentioned in various parts of the Quran. Fahsha is something obscene. So anything that is dirty, that is lewd, that is, whether it's to do with the human body, or whether it's to do with the human language, or whether it's to do with language itself, anything like that, it comes under fahsha. And that is something that shaitan loves to take human beings towards. And the second thing is munkar. Now munkar is a massive thing, which is most good people, like you got a good person who likes truthfulness. Most people will tell you truthfulness is the best thing. They're good people. They hate lying. So munkar is, lie is a munkar. It's something that people yunkiruhu mean that they dislike it, they reject it, they think is bad, they think is vile. So what most people don't like, that is something that shaitan will try and make you do. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given a beautiful way of summing this up. He said, "Wal ithmu ma haka fi nafsik wa karihta an yattali'a alayhi nas." He said that sin is something that will wither in your heart, and you kind of be unsettled about it. and you will dislike that people find out about it. You will dislike that people find out about it. That's the way of measuring whether what my thoughts are right now, are they from the shaitan or are they from myself? Right? And you just measure them up. Would I really like people to know what I'm thinking about right now? That I want to just smack him behind his back, right? Or I want to basically go and just take that £10 from there, or I want to basically send this text message out right now, and I think, yeah, that's right. When he gets that, he's going to have it, right? He's going to understand, yeah? Would I really like all people to know that when I'm doing this, or would I have to stand there justifying what I've just done? If you have to justify what you've done, then perhaps there's something wrong there. But if you don't have to justify it, if people say, yeah, you know what, if common people say, yeah, you know what, you did the right thing, then you don't, then that wouldn't be a sin. So these are some of the things that the shaitan will do as his way of taking people towards the wrong pathway. And Allah mentioning that He's being an open enemy makes us feel that we've got nothing to basically be scared of this particular creature of God that He is created. And He says, for example, this is about fahsha, obscenity, and about just look in Surah Baqarah, ayah number 169, 168. 168 and 169, you look at that and you will find fahsha, and you'll find another word, su, which means evil, that he calls towards. And you will find that enmity is something that the shaitan creates. Enmity is something that he creates, and we're going to come to enmity in a bit, how Allah Azza wa Jal, it's in our nature to find enemies, but shaitan is the one that will try and create enemies. And most of the problems in the world, especially if you look in the Muslim world, our biggest problem is that we got too much enmity between us. And the biggest problem to that is it goes right down to shaitan. And what kind of waswasas he says? He says, hey, you're white, he's black, you're better, he's worse. That's what he does. He says, you're rich, he's poor, you're better, he's worse. Prejudice, waswasa in the head, thinking that you're a better person. These are the things that have divided us. Did you see what he did to me? He won't even say you're, I shouldn't even say that. He'll say, I am. He'll use the word I am, which I said before. He'll say, no, I am someone, who was right. He has to be wrong. My self-image is going to be broken down if I don't accept this thing. If I don't go down this pathway right now, he's got to be wrong. He's got to be put down. Otherwise, he's going to destroy me. Right? These are the things that he will start whispering into people. And there's other things. For example, he'll make you be extravagant. He'll make you go beyond Allah's laws slowly. That's in Surah Isra, ayah number 27. If you want to check that. In terms of getting people into actual sin itself and then making them have further enmity, this is something Allah has mentioned in Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 91, if you want to check that. Khamr wal maisir, gambling, intoxicants, and so on. Allah said these are from the impure actions of the shaitan. Rijsum min amali shaitan. But if you then look at the opposite of all of this, Allah Azza wa Jal has said, for example, He has said in Surah Nahl, Surah number 16, ayah number 98 and 99, He has said, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you start reading the Quran, start to seek protection in Allah from the outcast shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ لَهُ sultan. He has no power over who? عَلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. On those people who believe and who have full trust in their Lord. Full trust in the Lord. Shaitan has no way over them. Quran is a wonderful way of keeping the shaitan away. Wonderful way. If you stay recitation of the Quran, it's a wonderful way. And dhikr of Allah is another great thing. Allah said when you gain taqwa, automatically, even if a whole group of shaitans come to attack you, you'll be safe. That's in Surah A'raf, ayah number 201. Surah A'raf is Surah number 7. But obviously, if you start to befriend the ways of the shaitan, you will start moving away from the Rahman, away from Allah Azza wa Jal. وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ نُقَيِّضْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. Allah says, I'll even make him your shaitan, your friend for you, if you start to, not listen to me and start to befriend his ways. This is in Surah Az-Zukhruf, Surah number 43, ayah number 36. Allah has said that if you ever realize that he has just, attacked you, made you do something wrong, then he said, just say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, or say A'udhu Billahi, just say A'udhu Billah. This is in Surah A'raf, Surah number 7, ayah number 200. And of course we've got Qul A'udhu Rabbin Nas, a wonderful way of keeping his waswasa away from us. And to one big ploy, one big attack that shaitan has got on human beings is to make you be forgetful. This is one of the best ones he uses. And at this moment, I think from all the tricks that he's got under his, armpit, or under his, horns, or whatever you want to call it, the biggest one he's used is this thing about being absent-minded, being in a state of forgetfulness. So for example, the satellite, the TV, the computer, the apps, the technology, the wonderful wife, the wonderful married life, the kids, the wealth, the assets, all of that. What's all that doing? Allah has mentioned again and again in the Quran, it's making you forget what your real purpose of life is. Alhaakumut takathur. Alhaakumut takathur. Allah says that, the rivalry between yourselves to try and get more and more of this dunya, it makes you become forgetful of many things, mainly forgetful of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the Akhirah and why we're here and what we're supposed to return with. This is one massive one that he uses. In fact, he makes you so forgetful that he even makes you forget that the shaitan is even there. That's the ultimate one. When you think that, you're so drunk in this world. If somebody's so drunk in this world that they've even forgot that the enemy is around, that he's an open enemy, when they've forgotten that, then La ilaha illallah, then he's really got you. And there are plenty of Muslims out there that are in this situation. So anyway, coming back to, these are some of the things I've summarized for you, for some of the ploys of the shaitan, and don't worry about it. These are some of the things he tries to do. The more we remember Allah Azza wa Jal, the less the shaitan has an influence on us. Now, what happens here is that Adam alayhi salam then is put into Jannah. Okay, Adam alayhi salam is put into Jannah. Now, where was this Jannah that he was put into? The Mufassirin have debated. It's a long debate, and you'll find it in the books of Tafsir. Some say that Adam alayhi salam was in the Jannah, in a Jannah or in a garden, a beautiful garden in this world itself. And others say that Adam alayhi salam was in the Jannah that we're all supposed to return back to. Jannatul Ma'wa, Jannatul Khul, Jannatul Firdaus, whatever it is, that Jannah is the one that Allah created Adam in. Now, they're divided, the Mufassirin are divided, which one is it? Because the ayah, the Quran is not very clear on it. But there are certain indications of which one it might be. It doesn't make so much of a big difference if you really think about it, but the debate is there, and I'll just quickly try and sum up the debate itself. So, for example, when Allah Azza wa Jal created Adam alayhi salam, if he put him, this is the whole debate. Number one debate is, when Allah Azza wa Jal told Iblis, get out of here, ukhruj minha, get out of here, did he mean get out of Jannah, get out of that Jannah in the sky, right? Get out of there, you don't belong here anymore. If that was the case, the question is, how did Iblis come and whisper in Adam alayhi salam's body, or come as a creature and whisper to him? How did he do that? So those Mufassirin say that there's no way. If God said, get out of here, there's no way he's going to be entered back in. And therefore they started to say, well, he must have been in a Jannah in this earth, meaning there's a beautiful garden on this earth, and then Allah simply made him move away from that Jannah when he ate from the tree, whatever he ate from the tree. And also they say that Adam alayhi salatu salam, when shaitan came to him and shaitan said to him that, you will be able to live forever and so on, he wouldn't be able to give that waswasa if Adam alayhi salam was in the real Jannah, because in that real Jannah, Adam alayhi salam, he knew that's a place forever. And they say he must have been on this earth, because this earth is a temporary world. So he was able to tell him that, look, this is a temporary world. If you want to become like the angels and be in the higher world, and you want to be living forever, then you better, eat from this particular tree. And they've got other dalils. I believe, this is my own sort of, preference. I believe it was not in this world. I believe it was in the world of, in the other world. And it was, above the 7 heavens and the 7th where Allah has created Jannah. I believe it was in there. And I believe when Allah said to him, "Ukhruj minha," get out from this place, it didn't mean Jannah. It meant from the maqam. It meant from the station, the rank that Iblis had got and he received after worshipping Allah so many years. He was dismissed from that rank, so he lost that position in the sight of Allah. But he still could go around Jannah, and he still was roaming around there. So that defies that. The other one thing is on this word ihbitu. When finally Allah said to Adam alayhi salam, come down from here, get down from there, that is a strong position on this side, on the side that I take. That Allah said, get down. So it means that down from one place down to what? To the earth. Right? Go to the earth. And Allah says, ilal ard. He says, I'm going to send you to the earth, and fiha tahyaun, in that world you're going to stay, and in that world you're going to die, tamutun wa minha tukhrajun, and from that world you're going to be resurrected again. So that's a very strong evidence that means that he was from another place and then he came down to the earth. The other ulama, they say no, ihbitu can mean that you're going from one place to another. So for example, when Nuh alayhi salam was on his boat or on his ark, and Allah, it settled down and the waters receded, Allah said, ihbitu minha. Allah said to him, come down from here, meaning that just come out from your boat or from your ark onto the ground. That's it, that's what it meant. Or when Allah said to the people of Musa, ihbitu misran, go to this city, these are all in the Quran, it meant just go from one place of the earth to another place of the earth. That's all it meant. So it was all on this earth. However, I believe that it was in that real Jannah. Now, anyway, that's a small debate. When Allah Azza wa Jal created Adam alayhi salam, He made Jannah in a way that it was absolutely beautiful. It was everything that he needed. And there was one tree, Allah told him, this one tree you don't eat from there. In fact, the forbidden element was given to him after Hawa was created. Now, how was Hawa created? And there's a massive lesson to learn from this. Adam alayhi salam was in Jannah and he was lonely. And he was feeling that though Allah had given him all these beautiful things, all the beautiful you can imagine, all the fruits, all the food, all the clothing, all the houses, all the places, drinks and so on, he just was very unsettled. Something was missing from him. And he happened to lie down. There's two different narrations. One is that he happened to sit down sit down and just drop off, and then he sort of opened his eyes and he saw Hawa in front of him. Another one is that he actually lied down and he slept, and when he woke up, by his head side, he sees this beautiful woman. Now, what Allah did during his sleep is, he took an element from his left rib, and he took it from the bottom left rib. It wasn't the top. Now the rib cage works as, you've got the larger ones at the top and you've got the smaller ones at the bottom, right? I want sisters to understand this clearly, because this has been related to a hadith, and please don't sort of suddenly walk off now, or don't listen to the rest of the tafsir that I'm going to give. Otherwise you're going to think, that man, he's so sexist and he's making these comments about us and this and that. Please take it easy, sisters. I'm going to explain to you the full thing. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has told us to be good to women. He said, "Istawsu bin nisa khayra." He said, look, just give, create good advice for women as well. And he himself has told us to be good towards them and to be gentle towards them and so on and so forth. And then he told the men of his time, and this is not only to the men of his time, this is till the day of judgment. He said, what happened is, he explained, he said, you might be good to a woman all your life, and then you do something wrong, and she will turn at you and she will say, you've never done anything good for me. And this is the hadith. And again, sisters, don't switch off yet, okay? I'm not here to, beat the sisters up or whatever, or give something along those lines. You've got to understand the full hadith. So he then added, sallallahu alaihi wasallam then added, he said, the woman, she has been created from the dila, or from the rib of a man, and she has been created from the bottom one, from the left side and the bottom one. And then he added, he said that is the most crooked out of all the ones that you got. But then he advises us, and he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tells us that since she has been created from man's bottom, most crooked left rib, if you go and try to straighten it, you will break it. And if you leave it, then it remains crooked. If you go and try and straighten it, you will break it. And if you leave it as it is, it's crooked. Now there's a lot of lessons to learn from here. And again, I don't want sisters to take it the wrong way, what's been said in the hadith. And there's a lot of people, Western sort of writers, who try and jump on the bandwagon of Islamophobia and all that, and attacking Islam, saying, look what your Prophet says about women. No. You completely misunderstand this hadith if you don't look at the wealth of hadith around it. Don't forget that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his life is an explanation of all of his words. So he's never been cruel to any of his wives. No, forget cruelness. He's never even, done anything that they could even say wrong about him. This is one of the mu'jizat. This is one of the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is simply a miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no man. If I ask this question, right, to you guys, whoever's married here, unless you've been married yesterday or like 1 month ago, right? If you can put your hands up and say you never had an argument with your wife, please put your hands up right now. Yep. No one. Even I can't put my hands up, all right? No imam can put his hand up. No wali of Allah can put his hand up. No close person, no sahabi can put his hand up and say, my wife, I've never had an argument with her. No wali of Allah, no one. Only Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the only one. If he was here, he'd be able to put his hand up. And that's the reason why, that book about the 100 most influential people in the world, or the most ranking people in the world. When Michael Hart wrote his book, he says in there, he puts Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam number 1, and he explains why he made Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam number 1. And I was fascinated to read his little 7-page thing about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says in there, most men, you can find out about their lives in their outside world. And you can rate them, and you can say, military leader, or scientist, and you can say this and that about them. But only a few men you get to know about their private life. Only a few men you will get to know about their private life. Even then, most men will only give it to you through an autobiography. They will not allow a private person in their life to tell you about the whole of their life. And the case of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that Mother Aisha radiyallahu anha, she's got 2,000 ahadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a good few tens of ahadith of them are about their private life. At least 100 or around 100 are about the private life. And in there, she's got nothing to say but good about the Prophet ﷺ. And that's why he says, this is the only man you can find positive outside and positive in his private life. So please take this in consideration when you come back to that hadith about Rasulullah ﷺ explaining about the woman. And don't forget that Rasulullah ﷺ, even on his last khutbah, in Arafat, in one of the major khutbahs he's given to us, he's told us to be good to our women. Throughout his life, he's told people, how good they should be to their women. He's told them that the best of you, the best people amongst you are the best to their wives, and I'm the best to my own wives, and so on and so forth. Okay, so cut a long story short, let's get back to that hadith again. That hadith, when Hawa, alayhi salam, when she was created from Adam alayhi salam, it shows us that number 1 is that she was created from man himself. Allah created Adam alayhi salam without a father, without a mother. Allah created Hawa without a father, without a mother. However, Allah has made Adam alayhi salam directly, khalaqtuhu biyadayya. I created him directly from my own hands. Whether, we don't say his hands like this. Whatever Allah meant by that, He directly created him. But when Allah created Hawa, she was created from a second source. So it was from Adam. What you got to remember about that is the way Allah has made this world is that the men until the day of judgment are going to be dominant in the world. That is Allah's rule. You know, all this thing about feminism and this and that. Look, sisters who are listening to this, we don't have a problem with sisters being in charge of many parts of the running sort of, you know, quotas that we've got. There's nothing wrong with that. If a sister wants to become a judge, fine, you want to become this. I know there have been Muslim women judges in the past and so on. You know, I don't want to get into all of this. She can be a muftiya. Sayyidatuna Aisha was a muftiya herself, radiallahu anha. We don't have a problem with that. The thing is, when Allah said He's going to make Adam alayhi salam the Khalifa, He's going to make him, He said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa, I'm going to make a vicegerent on the earth. He didn't say about two. He didn't say about Adam and Hawa. He said only about Adam. Now that doesn't mean a woman cannot rule certain matters. She can. But we've got a system in this world, and the system is that no matter what you say, generally the man is going to be dominant over the woman. Now, you might question this and you might say, no, but that's, how can you do that? And that's sexist and that's wrong. And look, I once asked Shaykh Zahid Rashid from Pakistan. He came to this guy and asked him, I said, look Shaykh, you know, I said, I'm an imam and I go out there and I get questioned about this gender thing and equality and all that. I said, you know, please Shaykh, give me a, you know, thing, how are we supposed to look at this thing? And he said, look, this is what you've got to do is that you've got to assess the situation and see what's happening. So I said, but look, you know, a woman like, you know, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, that's what I talked about. I said, look, Thatcher, she ruled the whole country and so on, blah, blah. But he said, look, he said, rules are not made on exceptions. Rules are not made on exceptions. We do believe that a woman can rule, you know, as in a woman has the ability to rule. Whether in Islam there's a debate whether a woman should rule or not. There's a debate of that. I'm not saying that a woman, you know, in Islam should rule a country. No. What I'm saying, generally, if the woman has the ability, but rules are made not on exceptions but on the general masses. This is one of the things he said. And he said, if you were to go in any army where they've employed women inside there, and from the toughest side of life, there are many tough sides of life, of istiqlaf. When Allah said about Khalifa to Adam alayhi salam, there are things of the most important matters which are the most reigning, governing, sovereignty, ruling the world and controlling the world. It is on a general scale the job of a man to do that, not a woman. Allah just hasn't created her for the greatest matters of the earth for her to rule the world. Right? Until the day of judgment, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, from this word, what you can derive, from when Allah said about Adam being the Khalifa, what you can derive is that until the day of judgment, there will never be a dominant group of women who will all rule the world. It will not happen. It just will not happen because of the way the nature of the man is. So he gave me an example. He said, okay, the Americans have accepted the women into the army. He said, that's fine. And they talk about equality, that the woman can also fight in the army, that's fine. But he said, what you want to do is, don't talk about women being in the army, talk about women being in the front line. When you start looking at the stats of women being in the front line of actual fire, he said, start reading the reports on that. Start getting the scientific journals on that. You'll see that the man himself, you know, it's really hard to be there and see legs being blown off, right? And blood squirting all over your face, your eyes, and then you have to run and you're seeing some guy, you know, his eyes have been sort of, you know, gouged out, and you see some other one that's been hanged on a tree or whatever, and his body is rotting and so on. It's not everyone's stomach. Not everyone has got a stomach to take that. But he said, if you look at the reports of these scientific journals on the studies of people who've gone to the armies, you will find that most men still are able to take that. But most women are not. A lot of women have come back with severe disorder after they've gone to the front lines. That's why even the armies, they will try and, you know, not allow many women to go to the front lines. He said many of these greater things. Now, we're not saying that the woman doesn't have a place on this earth. No, Allah has created a beautiful world where He's made opposites. Now please understand this here. Where you've got the earth, you've got the sky. Where you've got heat, you've got coldness. Where you've got like right, you've got left. Where you've got, you know, rain or wetness, you've got dryness. Allah's created opposites. The man is an opposite of the woman is an opposite of the man. And they're two halves. They go together. So for example, you need the rain and you need the sun to try and get plantation. You want plants, and you want greenness, you want photosynthesis to work, you better have rain and you better have the sun as well. They both go together as a unit. The rain cannot claim that you the sun, you're up and high, and you look over and everyone looks at you and everyone blames me for making a wrong day and all of that, and you get all the credit, and everyone comes out and everyone enjoys you and they talk so good about you, and I get the blame of coming down, but yet they survive on me. I should be like you the sun, right? And I should be like you bright, and I should be like you hot instead of being a cold element and so on. If that happened, things would go wrong. If cold became heat, heat became cold, and it all became hot or it all became cold, something would go wrong. The same way, look, the man and woman have been created as opposites. What does that mean? That means that we complement each other. The man complements the woman in this world. The woman complements the man. And how that is, if you look truly in the nature of men and women, you will find that subhanAllah, what Allah has given the woman to do, the man can't do. Mother, for example, Allah has called the walida, Allah has called the Allah has given a hanan, Allah has given her great love, deep love. Allah has made her have wood and unconditional love inside her heart. The man cannot, and men in general cannot match this. And kids need this. Part of a human upbringing is that you are balanced with your intellectual thinking and your emotional part. And the woman provides the emotional part, the man provides the intellectual part. And as a human being, we need both of them to become a great human being. And Allah Azza wa Jal, what Allah has given to the woman, who can show in many things that she can toil in the smaller parts of life, which men can't do and men are not good at. For the scrutiny that the woman has, I'm talking about in general sense, the men don't have. You talk about the secretarial job, right? Why are men not good at it? Because men generally don't have that clockwork ability that many women have, and they're not sort of good at the finer details as women are. But the women, again, in many jobs that men do, they can't sort of match them. Now, come back to that hadith again. That hadith, what does it mean? It means first is the secondary source. That's one thing I said. Second, from the rib I'm talking about. Yeah? Second thing is, if you were to look at your rib, what would you do with your own rib? If you said, look, why is my rib bent? Would that be a question? The best thing is that your rib remains bent. Where your rib is, even the lowest part of your rib, you want your rib to stay where it is, and you want to be in that shape because it puts your body shape in it, right? The spine is different. The spine you want it to be straight. The ribs you want it to be bent. Again, there's a complement. When Allah Azza wa Jal created the human being in Surah Tariq, He said, يَخْرُجُ مِن بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. The human being, he comes out from, the sperm or the semen that emanates, it comes out from between somewhere where the spine is and the ribs are. Why did Allah say that? Because both of this structure, the ribs can't remain without the spine. And the spine can't remain without the ribs. The body will be all sort of jelly shaped without the ribs. So again, what the meaning of this is, or the lesson that we understand from this, is that there's a great complementing part of the man being straight and the woman having her slight bentness in her. What does that mean? That means that the man would have a greater portion of the intelligence. See, if you look at the spine, now these are things I'm just deriving for you from this. You may not find it in the books, but I'm just giving you things. Like, look at the spine. The spine is connected to what? The spine is connected to the brain. It's connected to the brain. The brain, if the neck breaks, then you become paralyzed for life. If the brain connection stops. What Allah Azza wa Jal has given an ishara or indication to is that the men mainly have got this intelligence, more of this, not intelligence, sorry. It's called the using more of the intellectual capacities over the emotions. Whereas Allah has created women who generally will use more emotion over the intellectual capacity. Not to say that they're not intelligent. No, that is wrong to say that about women. So what does that mean? That means again it's a complement. You need both of these sides. This is one of the reasons why when you have got the most delicate of the human beings in the hands of a woman, she's able to keep it moving on. Like if you have a single father and a single mother, I don't know if you looked at these studies. There are studies out there, please go and see them. If you look at families where single fathers have brought the children up, the children are more sort of, they grow up with sort of feelings that are more sort of strong and hard. Whereas if single mothers, children grow up with that, they grow up with more soft sort of feelings. And when you've got parents together, they both can complement. Now, why I'm talking about single here is you get a taste of what the man gives and what the woman gives. The woman, Allah has created her. Look, the emotions are somewhere deep down there, and that's what Allah said about her coming from the rib. Why? Because the emotions are attached to that. Allah Azza wa Jalla has made them in such a way that together they make a wonderful combination, but on their own they're not really good. Even the man on his own is not that good. Even the woman on her own is not that good. A friend of mine said to me the other, and actually he was an alim as well. He said, "Subhanallah, how Allah has in Islam given the matter of the divorce in the man's hands and not in the woman's." Why? Because he said, if you look at any stats of divorce cases in the UK, so there are divorce stats that you can get straight from the internet, and you can find out how many divorces took place in the United Kingdom, how many of those were instigated by men and how many of those were instigated by the women. Because in this country, obviously, the law is that the woman can apply for a divorce and the man can apply for the divorce. He said, subhanallah, if you look at the stats, majority of people in the UK or Western world where they've opened it to men and women to divorce whoever wants to, whenever they want to, you will find the majority of them, 80% of the cases have been because the woman has instigated the divorce. Why? Because the emotions get high. And when the emotions get high, her intellectual capacity, they can become cloudy. That's what happens. And that's why Allah gave the man the right to have the divorce in his hand. Now, this is Allah's distribution because He understands how we work best. So that's another point that I mentioned. Another point I want to mention is that the rib itself, Rasulullah ﷺ said that if you straighten it, you break it. If you leave it, it stays as it is. Allah has created women. Don't expect your woman, your wife, to think like a man. It's a big mistake a lot of men make out there. They think that why can't she think like me? Why can't you? But if you thought like you should be a man. If you thought like you should be like a man. You don't want a man in the house. You don't want you a man and her a man. You don't want that, do you, right? So she's going to think differently, right? And one of the things she will do is that she might get upset and she will swell up sometimes. And this happens with women. This happens. And even, look, I'm talking about women that have worked with me, women that are in my family, in my household, in my relatives, and women that I know of. I'm giving you a general thing about women, is that when these matters go, when political situations come and when things go start to go slightly haywire, women, Allah has created them that they can sort of sometimes get a bit off course. They lose the balance slightly in their thinking pattern. Now, I'm not talking about all women, please. I'm talking about general thing. But men lose their balance of emotion when it comes to an emotional drift. They lose their balance. For example, right, if you had certain kids that need, he's a single father and he needs those women, those children that are dependent upon him. After a little while, he might say, okay, better, whatever, come over here, I'll give you this. After a little while, he say, look, I gave you the spoon, right? I gave you the spoon. Now you're crying for another spoon, right? You drop it on the ground, just pick it up. Pick that spoon up from the ground. Pick that spoon up. That's what I said, right? Right, give it to me. Let me wash it out. Give it back to you, right? And I'm sick of that. I'm getting late for work, right? You kids, right? Driving me crazy, right? You just need to have breakfast really quickly, and I need to just get out of here, okay? You're late for this. You're late for that. Now he's gonna snap, and I'm telling you, it happens. All right? What will the woman do in that situation? When it's emotionally, they're driving her crazy, and I've seen this. Emotionally, the kids are driving, like even my wife or other situations. I can clearly relate to my wife. They're driving crazy, and you know what? Her love is still there. Her love is still there. Okay, don't worry. I'll just wash it. Here's another spoon. Just take it. Just finish it off. Sometimes they're going crazy. They're like one's attacking that one, one's attacking you did this, you started it, you did this, you did that. What will the man do? The man's going to come in the middle and say. First he might take it easy, then after a few incidents. But I'm talking about the 20th incident, the 30th incident, the man will say, hey, you over there in that corner, you over there in that corner. What will a woman do? A woman's going to come over here, sit on my lap. Come over, sit on my lap. What are you crying for? Tell me. That affection. A man can't do her thing. Right? So what I'm saying is that she becomes rocky when it comes to more intellectual things in this life, and he becomes more rocky when it becomes to the emotional things of life. He is not always on the straight when it comes to those emotional periods, and she's not always straight when it comes to all those intellectual things. So that's why you just leave her as she is. The whole point of it is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, no, if you go on straighten it, you're going to break it. If you leave it, it stays, it remains. And it was made, the way Allah made it. Just leave it like that. So what should a man do? A man has to understand that this piece of a bone inside him has been created for that reason, that it remains like that. Of course, we have to deal with the situation as it is in our daily lives. But that's the thing about Hawa alayhi salam, that she's been created. Now that she was created, she was the thing that was missing in his life. He didn't know how to express it to Allah. What does that mean? What we learn from here is that human beings need, the sukoon. Allah has said, litaskunu ilayha. This is there's two verses. One verse is, if you look in Surah An-Nisa, Surah number 4, ayah number 1, Allah has said, alladhi khalaqakum min nafsi wahida. All of you have been created from one soul, which is Adam alayhi salam. Wa khalaqa minha zawjaha. And from him, Allah created his spouse, his wife, Hawa. In Surah Araf, the 7th Surah, ayah number 189, Allah says, Huwa alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. He's the one that has created you from a single soul. Wa ja'ala minha zawjaha. And Allah has created his wife from him, liyaskuna ilayha, so that he can settle with her. Now there's a beautiful lesson in this. Adam alayhi salam was unsettled without Hawa. He became settled in Jannah once Hawa was there. He was like, hey, this was the thing that was missing in my life. This was a missing piece to the jigsaw puzzle that was in my life, the one little jigsaw puzzle, whatever was missing in there. This was the happiness. I had every other happiness. I had, my houses, I had my gardens, I had my rivers, I had all that in Jannah. But the thing that I didn't have was this human being, this woman that was created, and they lived so beautifully in Jannah. What we learn from here is, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Ash-shababu shu'batun min al-junun. He said, young adults or young men, shabab is from the age of puberty, which is about 12-ish, to the age of 25. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to one hadith, he called it a branch of madness. He said, shu'batun min al-junun. Right? So you young guys here, you are mad. You are insane. What does that mean? That means that you've got inside you, you've got this unsettled character to yourselves until you get married. Now you can see it. And I can give you 100 cases, 1,000 cases like this. When you have friends, they're young, right? The guy's 24, every night, he calls you, hey man, Abzi, what's up, man? Let's go out, man. Let's go and enjoy ourselves. And say, yeah. Where are we gonna go? We're gonna go clubbing. We're gonna go to this pool thing. We're gonna go, playing here. We're gonna go for footy. We're gonna go for this. Every other night they're getting together, and they're always looking at, yeah, what's up? Let's get out, right? The day he gets married, it's almost someone kidnapped him. And who kidnapped him? His wife kidnapped him, right? You think, man, Abzi, what's wrong with you, man? It's like you divorced me and you married her. What happened, right? We used to all look out for each other, this and that, and you disappeared. Why? Because he's found sukoon. He's found sukoon. The man has found sukoon. This is what Allah talked about. Now he's getting settled. Now he starts to really reflect on life. And for about a few months, up to a year, you don't see him. And then suddenly he pops out again. Right? It's like, oh yeah, Abzi's back again. Right? But you never get back together as you were. Like, all those crazy nights you used to have and crazy days you used to have? Well, Abzi's not doing any of that. What happened to him? Well, he must have met an alien called a woman. She's changed him. Well, no, it wasn't an alien. It was sukoon. Allah gave him sukoon. He settles down with her. And what happens over time is that he becomes a rajul. Now from shabab, he goes to become rajul. Now what does rajul mean? Rajul means that now he's got legs. Now he's got responsibility. Rajul becomes rijl, which is the legs. He's got responsibility. Now he will really focus on the matters of life. And every man can tell you that after marriage and before marriage, there's a complete different life of how you have an outlook on life. So to most people who can't find that sukoon, we need that. And another thing is that there is no sukoon. From this is very clear that, people who want to find sukoon and real settlement outside of this with all the material life, they will not find it. They will not find it. And Allah has said that. And there's one thing Allah said about tamanina. If you want to find the settlement of the ruh, of the soul, then it's with dhikrullah. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Only through constant remembrance of God, the ruh, the qalb, the spiritual side will be settled. But the physical side will be settled through getting married to a woman. The physical side, Allah said, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. He has said all of you will get settled once you get married, and both of them, find that there's a beautiful life that starts together. So that's another lesson that we learn. Now the next thing that we come to is that, from my opinion, you would have gathered that Allah Azza wa Jal has, from my opinion, you regard that Allah Azza wa Jal has now created Adam in that Jannah, which is the real Jannah, not the Jannah on this earth. I've told you about the difference of opinion according to the Mufassirin. Now what happens is that Allah tells Adam alayhi salam rules of Jannah. He says to him, Inna laka fiha alla taju'a. Allah Azza wa Jal says to him that in this Jannah that I've created, you will not become hungry ever. La tajur. This is Surah Taha, Surah number 20, ayah number 118 and 119. Allah said the principles are: you will never become hungry. Number 2, la tara. You will never become naked. Both of them are clothed. Wa annaka la tazma. You will never become thirsty. Wa fiha wa la tadha. And you will never have this place ever get too hot for you. So whatever is the heat, or however Allah has created the light and the heat, whatever in that Jannah, Allah says wala tadha. You will never have that the hotness of the sun rising above you, that it makes you too hot. Okay, so these are some of the rules Allah said. Allah said to him and her, kula fiha. Allah said, just eat whatever you want. Ragadan haythu shi'tuma. Now, the qualities of this is that there are no restrictions whatsoever, and there are no limits to what you want to eat. You can eat how much you want, and haythu shi'tuma, you can go wherever you want. So the whole of this paradise is for you, but I put you one test. That one test is, except for this tree here, this particular tree here, you must not eat from this one particular tree. Now what was that tree? There's many different things in the tafsir, but nothing is certain. The Quran hasn't gone into that certainty, so there's really no point in saying what that tree was. Now if you go to the Bible, you'll find that it was the apple tree, but again we don't believe in that, as in we have nothing in our sources telling us what was of that tree. But there are many things that are mentioned inside the tafasir of what was that, whether it was the wheat, the wheat that Allah prohibited from, or other things. But you don't need to go into any of that. It was simply a tree Allah told him not to eat from. Allah also told him that he would stay in a good condition inside Jannah, and he can roam with his wife wherever he wants, except that if he eats from this tree, he's going to become the one that wrongs himself. He's going to wrong himself, and she's going to wrong herself. Now what happens here is that Adam alayhi salam, he's with Hawa, and they're in Jannah, and they're roaming everywhere else, and they're staying away from this tree. Number one thing was, Shaitan needed to make Adam alayhi salam come near the tree. But number 2 was, Shaitan needed a temptation. Number 3 was, Shaitan needed a logical argument. Number 4 was, Shaitan needed to make him believe in that logical argument. Right? So please remember these, because this is the way that he makes us go wrong as well. Right? Now remember, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا shaitan. The first waswasa, the first whispering that shaitan gave, Allah clearly explains stage by stage what it was. And there's lesson in every single part of it. So number one was, Allah said, وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ شَجَرَةً. Allah said, don't even come near this tree. This was Allah's hukum. Don't even come near this tree. Allah didn't say don't just eat. Allah didn't say لا تأكلا من هذه الشجرة. Don't eat from this tree. He said ولا تقربا من هذه الشجرة. Don't even come near this tree. The same thing Allah said to us about wine in the Quran, intoxicants in the Quran. The same thing Allah said about gambling in the Quran, and so on. Allah said اجتنبوا. Allah used the word يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. Allah said, keep your sides away from it. Stay away from this. Stay away from alcohol. Stay away from intoxicants. Stay away from gambling. Stay away from all these things. Why? If you come near them, temptation can come. If you're not even near them, temptation can't come. You can't be tempted with something you can't see. You're not near around, right? If you're near a woman, then you can get tempted. For a man, he can get. That's why Allah says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina. He never said, وَلَا تَزْنُوا. Nowhere in the Quran Allah said, وَلَا تَزْنُوا. Don't fornicate, don't have adultery. He never said that. He said, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina. Don't even go near anything that is of adultery or fornication. So if you stay away from all this lewd stuff, you can't get tempted. Now, the first thing was, Shaitan made Adam alayhi salam and Hawa somehow come near that tree. But it's alright. They weren't going to eat from the tree, but they came near it. Rule number one broken. Next thing, Shaitan started to whisper. Now he was whispering. So it was the same way that we would get whispering. You know, the biblical story has a snake coming there, and the snake says, yo, Adam, would you want to eat from this tree? Whatever. You know, we don't believe no snake, no nothing, alright? So don't go into all these fairy tales about that. We simply know Allah said that there was waswasa, that whispering. So he would have whispered, said what? He said, now in certain tafsir it said that a creature or something came to him and spoke to him and convinced him about that. But the other one is that it was a whispering. So what was it? It was, if I eat from this tree, what will happen is that, you know, he said, you will live. He said, you will live forever. You will become immortal. And you will, fatakuna min al-khalidin. One of the things he said, that you will become from those, illa an takuna malakain. He said, you can become an angel. To Adam alayhi salam. He went to Hawa, said, you can become like the angels. You don't have to be mortal. You don't have to die anymore. أو تكون من الخالدين. You could live forever if you just eat from this. Now that didn't convince Adam alayhi salam. That didn't convince. This was a logical argument he presented, but he needed them to be convinced of the logical argument. Now this is where Shaitan lied. So what did Shaitan do? Shaitan said, وَقَاسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. You want to find all of this? It's in Surah A'raf, ayah number 19 to 21. Shaitan said, Wallahi, by Allah I swear, I'm telling you the truth. Now when Adam alayhi salam heard that, whether it was a creature from outside, whether it was a whispering in, when he heard that Shaitan took the name of Allah, Adam alayhi salam was a prophet at the end of the day. He never heard anyone lying. He's never heard anyone, forget lying. Allah's name was taken. This thing must be absolutely true. وَقَاسَبَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. He said, Wallahi, I'm telling you the best thing of your interest for you. I'm telling you this. Adam alayhi salam made the mistake of eating from the tree based on this qasam, based on this oath. It was a mistake. It wasn't that nothing else convinced him. This was the thing that led him. Now from this, what we say, that the isma of the anbiya, the fact that prophets do not sin, is very clear in this. And Allah said in the Holy Quran that فَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. This is in Surah Taha. I did not find a determined will inside Adam to disobey me. I did not find that. Though his action was of disobedience, وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ. Though his action was of disobedience, فَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. There was no determination that I found, God is saying, inside Adam alayhi salam to disobey me. He was deluded because Shaitan has said, Wallahi. And this is the best sort of tafsir we can have of this. Anyway, From this point onwards, we will carry on, and for many other lessons from this, inshallah, next week, 7 o'clock, try and be here, please. We're going to start 7 o'clock, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Wa akhir da'wana, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
الذكر علم ونور الحاملات سنا ونور والرسمات هنا سرور يا حلوة تلك السنين